Python, Excel, R, Tableau. You must have heard these tools several times over the course of talking to people and telling them that you plan to move abroad for grad school. And again, these are essential if you want to truly succeed in a highly competitive workplace and highly competitive universities, because in the west it's very important to have these things in place if you truly want to be competitive in a highly competitive job market. But having said that, the one thing that people do not talk about or do not emphasize on nearly as much as they should are soft skills. Hey guys, and welcome to my channel Ratty Expounds. In case you're new here, my name is Ratik Datta, and I use this channel as a platform to expound on my personal, professional, and academic experiences. To give you a brief background about myself, I did my master's in marketing from Purdue University in the US, from where I graduated in May 2024. Following which, I decided to come back to India. In case you want to know more about why I chose to come back, you can check out my other video, which the link for which you will find on the top right hand side of your screen right about here. However, having said that, this video on the other hand is going to be talking about the 3 top soft skills that you need under your belt to differentiate yourself from the others. Because think about this, hard skills is something which is a bare minimum, it's a necessity, but it may not be enough for you to get your dream job. Because if a couple of people are being interviewed for a job and they have the same set of hard skills, what truly differentiates them from one another, and what tips the scales in their favor in terms of the interviewer deciding to go ahead with candidate A over candidate B? It is soft skills. Trust me guys, I've heard this several times over the course of talking to people who have been in the US, and there have been several instances where candidate A may have been picked over candidate B simply because they were a better fit for the company. So now, how do you become a better fit for the company is where soft skills come into play, and you kind of build that, inculcate and develop that habit right out of grad school. So without further ado, I'm going to be expounding on the 3 soft skills that are so critical, so essential, so imperative for you to succeed and make an excellent career in the West. So the first soft skill that I'm going to be talking about is self-management. Now, when you go to the US, it can be a pretty daunting experience, especially in the initial stages where you are not used to juggling you're probably not used to juggling so many things at once, because there are several things that you need to be balancing in order to make the most of your time in the US. Now, this includes going for classes, finishing up your assignments, socializing, networking, applying for jobs, going for your part-time jobs. So now it can really be overwhelming for a lot of people. And let's say even if you have kind of done something similar, juggled several things over the past for your undergrad, you have to factor in the fact that this is possibly the first time that you're really living in a foreign country. So that in itself is a huge cultural adjustment that you need to do. So needless to say, there is a lot going on, and now what you need to do is you need to be finding that calm within all that chaos in order to truly succeed. And the first step to doing that is self-management, because again, now that you are on your own, there is going to be no one to prod you in the right direction. You are kind of on your own in terms of having to meet your deadlines yourself. So in case you miss the deadline for an assignment, for example, well, your grade is going to suffer massively, and there is nobody to remind you that okay, this is your deadline is approaching. And that is just one of the several things that you will be having on your mind. So a very simple, very easy step to kind of find that calm within the chaos, within the storm, is to be documenting everything. Again, you must have heard this quite a few times. All you need is Google Calendar. It's not fancy, it's nothing convoluted. Having a Google Calendar in place for the rest of your week is going to keep you accountable for the work that you have to do for the rest of the week, and it's also again going to be a very important reminder for you to be carrying out the things that you need to do, which may slip your mind given that there's so much going on. So documenting your work is key. And what I would suggest personally is to be using your Sundays especially to be planning out the rest of your week. Again, planning out too far ahead may not be a viable option, given that the entire foreign education experience is so dynamic and things can change from one week to the other. So I would recommend having a weekly plan in place which you plan out on Sunday, and that will really, at least it gets one thing off your mind in terms of having to remember what to do for the rest of the week. Because remember, at the end of the day, there are no timelines when you're in grad school unless you make them. So again, when you have your week planned out and you have your calendar in place, you will understand what social events you can go for, what you can say no for. And again, so I'm using social events as an example there are a lot of things that you will be exposed to. You will not, as much as you would love to do all of them, it's just humanly not possible. So having that calendar in place is kind of going to give you it's going to give you a clear picture of what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. And having said that, remember that it is absolutely okay to be saying no to certain things if you do not have the bandwidth to do them. I would just kind of like to conclude this point by saying that this is something that the cricketer Virat Kohli, Indian cricketer Virat Kohli, has spoken about in the past as well. Discipline is something which supersedes motivation, because motivation is a very transient feeling. It's something which kind of comes and goes, but discipline is something which stays with you over the long run. So remember that there will be days where you will not be motivated, and that's where your discipline will kick in. And how do you kind of inculcate that discipline is by documenting all your work. The second thing that I'm going to be talking about is communication. And now, trust me guys, I cannot underscore how essential it is for you to have top-notch communication skills if you truly want to succeed, and not just succeed but thrive in grad school and in your job ahead. Because at the end of the day, you could be absolutely brilliant with your hard skills and be super knowledgeable, but if you're not really able to translate that and articulate that well in terms of speaking or writing, then the other person is truly not going to understand what it is that you're trying to convey. Because at the end of the day, the concerned person cannot read your mind. So the onus is kind of on you to be able to articulate it well enough. And trust me guys, in the US, or actually for that matter, this is not just confined to the US, anywhere and everywhere, the harsh reality is that Hindi saying which says that jo dikhta hai wo hi bikta hai, which translates to what is seen is what sells. And I personally do not agree with this assertion, but that's kind of how the world is at this point. So you have to be at the top of your game when it comes to presenting yourself. And presenting yourself, the first impression that you leave on the others when it comes to presenting yourself are your communication skills. And this starts right from the classroom itself, because this is not a good to have. It's pretty much a must have, because you'll have a lot of classes where your grade actually, it depends a lot on class participation. So it's imperative for you to be able to communicate your thoughts effectively, both verbally and in written form. And again, something which I already touched upon earlier in this video is the fact that you are in a foreign land now. So you kind of have to understand the nuances of the communication, of the way people communicate in a foreign land as well. For you to be able to seamlessly kind of integrate into the new culture, communication is key. So it's kind of best. So for you to truly be living comfortably and also thriving in a foreign country, communication is it's a key element in terms of how well you are expected to do, or how well you could possibly do when you are in a foreign country. Now I have spoken about why this is important. Now let's talk about the how. The why is very important, but what's arguably even more important is the how. Now, how do you improve? How do you work on your communication? One way to do this is very, very simple, and that is to participate in class. I cannot emphasize this enough. I implore you to not worry about what other people will think. Ask questions, even if you feel like those questions might be perceived as being stupid. Ask them, because trust me guys, there is no such thing as a stupid question. You are here to learn, and that is what you are intended to do till your last breath. Do not let others' opinions deter you from participating in class. And trust me, asking questions in class, participating in class is going to really boost your confidence in other avenues, which you may not acknowledge at the time, but this is something I've personally experienced as well. Being more participative in class has actually helped my presentation skills, and it's also kind of helped me be more confident in approaching people for jobs as well. The other thing that you can possibly do is, again, you can take out some time out of your daily schedule to be explaining and to be talking about the projects that you're working on in class, and explain them in 2 to 3 sentences. This again builds up your ability to kind of be able to improve your elevator pitch. Now, elevator pitch is again very crucial when it comes to looking for jobs in the US, because there are so many candidates that if you truly want to stand out, you should be short and crisp in your communication. So for those of you who don't know, an elevator pitch is basically an analogy which is used where you are looking to create an impression in a short period of time. This short period of time would constitute the time that you would be spending with a C-suite executive in an elevator, which is approximately. So now, how you do that, how you build up those skills, baby steps. The baby steps include perhaps just talking about the assignment that you're doing or the projects that you're working in, and summarizing them in 2 or 3 sentences every single day. Now again, there is a lot to do, but just like we spoke in the first point, discipline and documenting what you have to do for the rest of your week is again going to be is will help you quite a bit in terms of taking out those 10 or 15 minutes that you need from your busy schedule. And I'm going to give you a pro tip here. Rather than simply saying out what your elevator pitch, the one thing that you can do is you can probably practice this elevator pitch in front of a mirror, and you can record yourself so that you can document your journey. You can see how your elevator pitch goes right from day 1 to day 40 and see the improvements that you have made, the changes that you can incorporate in the future. Documenting your journey once again is very important. The final soft skill that I have for you that you must incorporate to truly thrive in your grad school is emotional flexibility or adaptability. Now again, I cannot underscore how critical it is for you to be able to incorporate something which might seem as trivial to some, but is possibly the deciding factor in terms of whether you will be able to achieve what you set out to achieve when you go to grad school abroad. Now, a lot of people have this rosy picture of how it is going to be like, how their journey in a grad school and how consequently things will go like. I'm here to give you a reality check because the harsh truth is that things in all likelihood are not going to pan out the way you would want them to. Not every single thing that you plan out is going to work. It's very important to be able to recover from those setbacks because it's a very fast-paced environment and you cannot spend too much time mulling over a setback or something which may not have gone your way, because you may not get that internship that you really wanted to. You may not have topped the class the way you wanted to. You may not have gotten that grade that you were looking for in your favorite class as well. And this is all part of the package. Ups and downs are part of life. They're not just part of grad school or your job. They're part of life. And keeping that in mind, why it's important to have this flexibility beyond just grad school and beyond this grad school is that employers are actually looking for people with a high emotional quotient, with high emotional intelligence, people who are able to adapt to setbacks, people who are able to recover fast, people who do not get bummed out when things don't go their way. This is again just as important as being able to code perfectly on Python, because at the end of the day, jobs, grad schools, in fact, as a matter of fact, life in general it's a cycle of ups and downs. There will be the highest of highs with the lowest of lows as well, and it's very important to be able to pick yourself up when you are experiencing those lows of lows, and you are invariably going to go through these from time to time. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't go through a difficult time. If you feel like you know someone who's going through a difficult time, then you probably don't know everything that's going on in that person's life, because this is life. This is just how things are. And so now I've again spoken about why this is important. Now how you can actually deal with this is, again, this is something which doesn't happen overnight. You're going to have to incorporate this as part of your daily routine. What you can do is, if you are someone who's fond of journaling your thoughts and your journey every day can prove to be an excellent experience, because you can look back on the good days when you're having the bad days and remind yourself that just like there are bad days, there are some exceptional great days as well. And again, writing is cathartic in the sense that it kind of lets you vent out whatever is going on in your mind, especially when you're having a hard time. If you're someone who doesn't like to write too much, who's not into journaling, you can always talk to other people as well. Again, it's very important. We as human beings are social animals. Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about how social needs is such an important part of being able to get on our way to self-actualization, which is where we all aspire to be. So staying connected with your friends, both at your university, in the country that you're studying in, and also back home, is very important. It's crucial for you to not isolate yourself and to be dealing with all of these things by yourself, because at the end of the day, there will be people who will have gone through similar experiences, or probably in all likelihood going through the same experiences as well, and sharing your thoughts and your experiences is going to go a long way in terms of keeping you upbeat, which is again very critical for you, because like I said, it's a very fast-paced environment. You need to treat a setback as temporary and move on to the next thing, which again brings me back to something which you will be experiencing pretty regularly, which is feedback. Now, it's very important to not take feedback personally. Use it constructively as a means to improve yourself. Do not treat something which you perceive as failure. Treat it as feedback, something that life is giving you a feedback about, so that you can become a better person, so that you can parlay this failure into something which actually gets you to where you need to be, where you want to be. The difference between you being the smartest person in the room could be something as simple as you quitting or not quitting. So again, like they say that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. This is something that you must remember at all times when you are in grad. So yes, while your scores and your hard skills are going to get you to the door, what's actually going to help you get into the room are your soft skills, which are truly going to be the differentiating factor, something that differentiates you from the herd. So keep these things in mind and be yourself, relax, enjoy the experience, because as important as the destination is, the journey is, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, even more important, because what you will learn along the way is something which is worth its weight in gold. So if you like this video, please do leave me one of these. It helps with the algorithm of the channel. And if you're new here, please do share and subscribe. Promulgate it to all, any and everyone you think that this video or my channel in general could be helpful for. And I shall see you very, very soon. Real talk only. Cheers guys. See you until next time.